Hi, Dane Rose here, and I want to welcome and particularly thank those of you that are going through the entire 52-week year on this journey with me of accelerated growth and well-being, based on nothing more and nothing less than what has worked for me. So week 24, talking with strangers. Now, I feel pretty passionately about this because I learned one of the most important life-changing things I've ever learned in a cafe with a complete stranger in response to what I'm going to share with you here. And the first thing that I want to just say in context is 99.99% of the entire world is a stranger. One of the reasons I think Einstein said that the most important question we can ask ourselves and answer is the universe a friendly place? Is that 99.9% of all that is out there, and life is one of anticipated fear, dread, anxiety, etc., if the belief is that most of what's out there, most of the unknown and the unknown, the stuff that's so foreign out there we don't even know that we don't know it, if that's dangerous, if that's out to get us, it's going to be a pretty hellish life. On the other hand, if we assume that what's out there is at the very least ambivalent to our existence and just self-absorbed in doing its own thing in the way that's good for it, or is friendly and curious and a bit able to help us in some way, then the unknown becomes a very exciting place to explore. So it has big implications for our level of curiosity. Because who wants to open 100 doors in a new house if the expectation is that most of them contain horrible threats that are waiting to devour us? We're not going to go and open up all those doors. This one has a bomb. As soon as you open the door, it'll explode. You'll lose a leg, that kind of thing. Versus the idea that the universe is a friendly place, and so we're in a house and 100 doors, and let's see what's in each one of them. So the reason it's an important question is that one's growth, remember 99.99% of all that we have to learn is currently not learned, meaning it's in the unknown. Our growth is going to proceed at a 3 to 10 times faster rate if we are expecting friendliness out there in the unknown. And one of the manifestations of the unknown is strangers. So it kind of gets back to, do we think that people are basically loving? And, unless a number of things go wrong in childhood abuse, this and that and the other, which certainly goes on, we are going to be safe the vast majority of the time. If we expect that, then strangers are an exciting oasis. If we expect that people are lying, cheating, if you give them any opening at all, they'll just make your life hell, steal your money, rape you, blah, 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 then you want to avoid strangers. Well, I think most strangers are a bit like you and I. Strengths, weaknesses, blind spots, things that they can see that we can't see, resources we don't have some resources we have, They're different. They're not all good. They're not all bad. They've got good parts and bad sides, but basically they're moving in the right direction. They want a better life for them and those they care about. And they're not out to get us. Now, I also think that the few people who are out to get us can hurt us less if we are well connected, number one. And number two, can usually hurt us less than all the help we can receive if we are open to strangers. So this is kind of my experience in philosophy in the stock market. Studies show that people who stay in the market, who invest for the long haul, even though there are recessions, even though there are downturns, even though there are bankruptcies, even though there are scandals, they do better financially than people who stay out of the market altogether because they are afraid. Oh, I don't want to get in now. There could be a recession, so they stay out of the market. I read something in the newspaper today. I'm not going to buy that stock, so I'm staying out of the market. The people that stand by and watch, that guy has a red flag there. I'm not going to date him. This person has a little weird bit on their face. I don't like that. I'm not going to date him. This person is, musician. Musicians aren't successful. I'm not going to date that. And basically stay outside of life. Grasshoppers, I'm not going to eat that. That's disgusting. Who knows where that was made? This over here, that's not very good. I've never tried that before. Give me French fries. I'm going to eat French fries again. You know, the people that stay out of the market, that don't try new dishes, that say no to dating people before they've even met them, who won't eat this food and won't eat that food and think that their country is number one, and so why should they bother, learning from anyone else? And they have the most important things to say anyway, so why would they listen to other people? And they know how things should be done, so their children should shut up and blah, blah, blah. That this person leads to very low growth. And the part I want to talk about is strangers. So, if you assume that every stranger you meet can teach you something you don't know, can show you something you don't see, can give you a value that you don't have the imagination to anticipate, and can lead you somewhere you don't know exists, then strangers are a bit like those mystery doors in that house. And you just keep opening them and waiting for the treasure, knowing that it's there. And the real question, since every person has a pro and a con, a positive and a negative side, is can you share something valuable with them that leaves them stronger and richer and able to be the person that they want to be? And can you receive the gifts that they have to offer before or more than hurting and devaluing, etc.? So here are a few icebreakers along those lines. And this is the question that led to the most important learning from a stranger of my entire life. I sat down at the Good Earth Cafe in Fairfax, California. I asked to join the table of a young man who was sitting alone. Sometimes it's a little easier for me as a man to join a men's table simply because there is so much paranoia in the United States about a man joining a woman's table and all the possible sexual things that it's just too hassly of a field to sort through, like can I sit down and it's not about sex kind of thing, you know. And so I sit down at his table and I say, one of my favorite intros, I say, what is the most exciting thing in your life at this time? And he said, I'm going to a trauma workshop by Peter Levine. And I said, why? And what's that, you know? And he explained it. And it just so happened I was going through a trauma at that time, and I didn't have a word for it. And I thought I knew, because I'd done a lot of therapy with different practitioners. I thought I knew the terrain, and I wasn't doing it right because it wasn't working. But it turned out that as he described trauma to me, it sounded like something I didn't know. I didn't know that I didn't know. And so I and the therapists who were not competent in that arena had just overlooked this deep area of human biology. And I bought the book he recommended while we talked. I listened to it that afternoon on Audible, and it changed my life. So this is an example of how a stranger taught me something more useful than $150,000 of therapy by supposedly good practitioners. He was the one that gave me the missing piece. And he gave it to me for free. Not after 10 sessions, not after, a year, in the first 5 minutes. So naturally, I'm big on strangers. It's more fun than how's the weather. So here's a couple of ways to open up the doorways to an exchange of wealth with strangers. So what's the most exciting thing in your life? What's the richest, most exciting thing? 2, tell me something wonderful that you're looking forward to at this time. What's making you happy today? It's usually something, even if it's a rotten day. Another is, what's the most interesting topic that you're enjoying talking about with friends and acquaintances right now? And, why? What makes that interesting? What do you love about yourself? What do you think this is a really great thing about myself? And there's a couple of others. I actually wrote a little book called Amazing Questions. Just because people kept telling me, what a great question, I love that question, etc. So, little book. So this doorway opens up a possibility. What's your most important goal at this time? What's your biggest challenge that you need help with? This is better a little bit into the conversation because we're a culture that shames people who have needs. And so even though I ask the question because if I could help, that would be a nice thing. Like, how great, I've got 20 minutes here while I'm eating lunch. If I know anything that can help you in your biggest problem, what a fun thing to do is share it. And you can do another thing. What's your favorite book of all time? And what made it your favorite book? What's an event that you attended where you really learned something? Have you ever attended an event like that? if you could attend such an event, what would you want to be about? Like, I've attended a lot of events, so that could be a segue into saying, well, I've tried, 10 different events on this topic, and I learned the most here. So if you're interested, you could check it out. It's nice to have a very clear goal of sustainability. Sustainability means that both people go away receiving high value from the interaction. If I'm with a couple, one of the things that I sometimes ask is, what are the 3 things you love the most about your partner? I'll ask both of them. And surprisingly, in a number of occasions, the couple is surprised and they have never told each other. 5 minutes later, they know something that's deep in their relationship. So that's, these are opportunities to give. So talking with strangers is big. This is an area I'm jealous of women, because when a woman approaches a man with something like this, and I have to say it happens very rarely, I never hear the man saying, "Stop hitting on me, yuck," or being all defensive and, well, changing the subject, whatever. It's a refreshing opportunity when most women approach a man with a warm invite. But it's actually, a little bit dicey the other way around, which, as I say, is why I sat down at a man's table on this occasion. And I'm glad I did, because, as I say, I learned something incredibly useful. But a woman has way more options in these, along these lines, for men and women of all, ages. So good on you, woman. You're in luck. And I will see you on the next video, week 25. If you have not watched the first video, this project is designed to be watched in sequence, week by week, starting with the 80-20 principle, which means you want to ignore 80% of what I'm saying and focus on the 20% that matters to you.